Let's build this VLAN lab together so that you can get your CCNA knocked out this year and move closer to that dream job that you're trying to get. Also, if you don't know what kind of home lab you need, make sure you check out last week's video where we went over all of that, where we consoled in. That way you can be caught up to where we're at today, where we're going to build out this VLAN lab and move forward to learning and becoming that network engineer pro that you know that you are.
Setting up VLANs in a lab like this might seem overwhelming at first, but trust me, once you get going and you actually break this down into like a 5-minute or a 10-minute daily habit, that makes it much more easier. So make sure to watch this video, save it or whatever, follow along, and then just make doing these VLAN labs or make it a part of your journey or just part of your daily routine. Alright, so if you watched last week's video, you should be able to console in and get into the silly of your switch. So now let's create that VLAN. In global configuration mode, you're going to want to enter VLAN and then whatever number VLAN you want to use, and then name and whatever you want to name your VLAN. And that's pretty much it. Just repeat this daily with different VLANs and numbers and names to get you good practice. But that's definitely not all there is to it. But this will give you good practice to get comfortable. Okay, next we are going to assign a VLAN to a port. And the same process here. You want to get into privilege exec mode, then get into configuration mode using config T, and then the interface you want to assign to a VLAN. In this lab example, we're using interface FA02. Then you type out switch port mode access command to make it an access port, and then type out the command switch port access VLAN. And we created VLAN 50, so we'll put switch port access VLAN 50. That assigns this port to that VLAN. Get comfortable assigning VLANs to various ports. This is a crucial skill. Finally, if you don't know by now, in IT, you always want to trust but verify your work. Today, we're going to verify our work using the show VLAN brief command. As you can see, we have these different VLANs and the VLAN that we created. We also have port FA02. That's the port that we assigned to VLAN 50. So all that checks out, and that's what this command is all about. It ensures your VLAN and port assignments are accurate. So that's pretty much it. Just each day you want to repeat these steps with new VLAN numbers, names, and ports. And that consistent practice over time is going to build that confidence and mastery. But let's go over and look at the real world look of what's going on with these VLANs when we're plugging and unplugging cables.
All right, so we have PCA that has an Ethernet cable right here. As you can see, it's right here, and it's going straight down to the switch below. And then we have the port right there, the other end of the cable, in port number 3 for PCA. Now in port number 1, we have PCB. Let's trace that cable to the other end. All right, here we have an old Dell computer that's pinging in the same VLAN that we created. They're both connected to VLAN 10, and they're able to communicate because they're both on the same VLAN. Now let's watch what happens when we disconnect PCA from port number 3. If you see at the same time right here, the switch shows that that goes down. Now let's move it to another port. Port number 2, which was the VLAN we created. Let's put it in port number 2, which is directly below it. Now it's connected to port number 2, a completely separate VLAN. Let's see if PCB can still communicate with PCA. Here you should clearly see that the ping failures are happening because we're no longer in the same VLAN. PCB is unable to communicate to any other VLANs because this is all happening at layer 2 on the switch. The switch only knows about VLANs, and you have to be in the same VLAN if you want to communicate with any other networking device.
That's it, just 5 to 10 minutes a day and you can level up your CCNA game too. Just make sure to stick with this habit, and by the end of a week or two, VLANs will just become second nature and you'll really be a network engineer, because that's part of being a network and an engineer, is knowing how to configure these VLANs and troubleshoot them as well. Also, if you like this kind of content, definitely like the video and subscribe, but more importantly, turn on notifications for when I go live, as well as when I drop these weekly quick tutorials. That way you can just use them as a resource to help you learn and grow as a CCNA yourself. Next week, make sure to lock in, because we will be configuring a router for inter-VLAN communication. That means we're going to be able to communicate between two different VLANs, because we can't do that in this lab. And as a bonus, if you stuck around long enough, here's a screenshot of a VLAN cheat sheet of everything for VLANs that you'll need for the CCNA. Definitely take a screenshot of it if you need it, and bookmark it or whatever and put it into your notes. That way you can review it at another time. Appreciate everybody for tapping in, as you already know, and I'm gonna holler at you on that next video. Peace.